They say betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from the people you trust the most. I thought I had the perfect life. Married to Alex, my husband of 12 years, with 2 kids and a best friend I trusted like a sister. I believed we were untouchable. I was wrong. It started with something small. A piece of paper crumpled in Alex's jacket pocket, a dinner receipt, 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, a romantic spot by the beach in Miami. But here's the kicker. He told me he was in Chicago on business. My heart sank. Who was the second plate for? Who was sitting across from my husband when he told me he loved me over the phone? At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was a work dinner, maybe I was paranoid. But deep down, I knew. I knew something was off. Alex had been distracted lately. Longer work trips, more nights coming home late, smelling faintly of cologne he never used to wear. My stomach told me the truth before my mind was willing to accept it. And then came the shock that knocked the air out of me. Sarah, my best friend, the woman who stood by me at my wedding, holding my veil, the one who babysat my kids, called me sister, cried with me when her last boyfriend broke her heart. I started noticing little things. How Alex's phone lit up late at night with her name. How she suddenly had excuses not to meet me for our weekly coffee dates. Could it really be her? Could the person I trusted most stab me in the back like that? I felt insane, like I was piecing together a puzzle no one else could see. The worst part? I couldn't tell anyone. Who would I go to? My mom? She adored Alex. My coworkers? Too personal. It was just me, alone, with suspicions that made me feel like I was losing my mind. So I did what any betrayed woman eventually does. I became a detective in my own home. I checked his phone when he showered. I scrolled through receipts he left in his car, and every clue cut me open a little more. A charge at a florist, yet I hadn't seen a single flower. A jewelry store purchase, yet my hands were bare. Who was wearing the necklace that should have been mine? At night, I lay in bed beside him, stiff as a corpse, pretending to sleep. Sometimes I wanted to shake him awake and scream, "Who is she?" But instead, I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, praying I was wrong. Praying Sarah's laugh in my head wasn't the same laugh he was hearing in hotel rooms. Still, doubt gnawed at me. What if I confronted them and I was wrong? What if I destroyed my family over paranoia? That's when I hired a private investigator. It felt crazy, dramatic, like something out of a movie, but I needed proof. I needed the truth spelled out in black and white. When the binder arrived, my hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. Photos, dates, times. Alex's arm around Sarah in a restaurant. Alex kissing her neck in a hotel parking lot. Sarah in a robe, leaning out of a hotel window with her hair messy and wet. Every page stabbed me again and again until I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was fact. The 2 people I loved most had chosen each other behind my back. That night, I broke. I locked myself in the guest bedroom and sobbed into a pillow so my kids wouldn't hear their mother falling apart. My tears soaked the fabric until I could barely breathe. How do you tell your children that daddy betrayed mommy? How do you explain that Auntie Sarah isn't family? She's the enemy. And yet, even as my world collapsed, I couldn't shake one thought. I wanted answers. I deserved them. Why her? Why my best friend? If Alex wanted someone else, fine. But why take the one person who meant the world to me? That's not just cheating. That's cruelty. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to sit quietly and let them keep their secret. I was going to confront Sarah first. Maybe you'll judge me for that. Maybe I should have gone to Alex first. But in that moment, I needed to look Sarah in the eye and see if she would lie to my face one more time. I invited her over for coffee like old times. My hands trembled as I poured the cups, trying to act normal. But the binder sat heavy in the other room, waiting like a loaded gun. She smiled, complimented my blouse, asked about the kids, like she hadn't destroyed my family. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the coffee in her face, but I played along, biting my tongue until I couldn't anymore. Finally, I slid the binder across the table. "Open it," I said. My voice was shaking, but I forced steel into it. She looked confused, nervous. She flipped the first page and froze. The blood drained from her face. For a moment, silence filled the kitchen, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Then she whispered, "It's not what you think." That line, that pathetic, recycled line. Not what I think? The photos said everything. The hotel receipts said everything. My husband's lies said everything. I laughed, a bitter, broken laugh that scared even me. "Not what I think? Then tell me, Sarah." What am I supposed to think when my best friend is sleeping with my husband? Her eyes filled with tears. She stammered excuses, how it just happened, how she never meant to hurt me, how she still loved me like a sister. And for a split second, I almost believed her. Almost. But then I remembered the nights I cried alone while she was in his arms, the gifts she wore that should have been mine, the betrayal carved into every memory we ever shared. No, sisters don't do this. Friends don't do this. Only enemies do. I don't remember how long we sat there, me staring at her like she was a stranger, her choking on apologies that meant nothing. At some point, I stood up. My voice was calm, but my hands shook with rage. Get out of my house, Sarah, and don't ever come near me or my children again. She tried to hug me. Can you believe that? She actually reached for me, tears running down her cheeks like she expected forgiveness. I stepped back. Don't, I snapped. You've taken enough from me. And that's how part one of my life ended, with my so-called best friend walking out my front door, leaving behind 12 years of trust shattered on my kitchen floor. But here's the thing. I still hadn't confronted Alex. He had no idea I knew. And as much as it killed me to sit on the truth, I realized something in that moment. I had power. He was about to walk into the biggest trap of his life, and he wouldn't even see it coming. That was the night I stopped being the victim and started planning my revenge. After Sarah walked out of my house, I sat in silence. The kitchen still smelled like coffee, but to me it stank of betrayal. My so-called best friend had been banished, but the bigger monster still roamed free. My husband, Alex. He thought he was clever. He thought he could lie to me with his business trips and late-night phone calls. What he didn't know was that every move he made from now on was going to feed my plan. Here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just wound you. It sharpens you. It teaches you patience. It teaches you how to turn pain into a weapon. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't scream at Alex the moment he walked through the door. I didn't throw the photos in his face. No. Why give him the satisfaction of a dramatic blow-up? Men like him thrive on drama because they think it makes them the victim. I wasn't going to give him that out. I was going to let him walk straight into his own funeral, social, financial, and emotional. For weeks, I played the role of perfect wife. I cooked his favorite meals. I laughed at his weak jokes. I kissed him goodnight, while silently picturing him with Sarah in some cheap hotel bed. Every night, I lay beside him, rehearsing the moment when I would finally flip the script. Every night, my rage became a plan. The private investigator had given me more than photos. He'd given me hotel bills, travel logs, timestamps, and even video clips. Enough evidence to crush him in divorce court. But I wasn't satisfied with just leaving. I didn't want to walk away quietly while he and Sarah lived happily ever after. I wanted everyone, our friends, our families, his colleagues, to see him for what he really was. A liar, a cheater, a fraud. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Alex's company was hosting its annual corporate gala, a black tie event where spouses were expected to attend. I knew Sarah would be there. She'd been invited through her job, a connection Alex conveniently never mentioned. My stomach churned at the thought of them in the same room, but then I realized something. This was it. This was my stage. If he wanted to parade around like Mr. Successful Family Man, I would tear off the mask in front of everyone. The week before the gala, I prepared like a general going to war. I had copies of the investigators' files printed and neatly organized. I created a slideshow, yes, a slideshow, with photos of Alex and Sarah together. Cold, undeniable proof. I enlisted the help of the event's AV team under the guise of a special surprise tribute. They didn't ask questions. Why would they? Wives are always planning sweet gestures for their husbands at these things. Only this gesture was going to destroy his reputation in a single click. The night of the gala, I looked the part of the supportive, proud wife. I wore a sleek black dress, my hair curled just the way Alex liked it. A smile plastered on my face that hid the storm beneath. Alex strutted into the ballroom with me on his arm, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, introducing me to people I already knew. And then, across the room, I saw her. Sarah. She was in a red dress, bold and smug, like she wasn't the woman who had detonated my life. Her eyes flicked to me, and for a split second, I saw fear. Good. She should have been afraid. Dinner passed in a blur. Toasts, speeches, laughter. Alex was in his element, playing the charming executive, the devoted family man. And then came the moment I had been waiting for. The lights dimmed. The projector flickered to life. Alex leaned over and whispered, "What's this?" I smiled sweetly. Just a little surprise. The first slide appeared. At first, it was harmless, a photo of Alex and me from our wedding day. The audience let out soft awes. He smiled, confused but flattered. Then came the second slide. Alex and Sarah sitting too close in a restaurant, her hand brushing his. The room went quiet. His smile vanished. I sat still, my face calm, my hands steady, though my heart pounded like a drum. Slide after slide, the truth poured out. Alex kissing Sarah in the hotel parking lot. Sarah leaving his car in the early morning light. Receipts, timestamps, videos. Gasps filled the room. Colleagues shifted uncomfortably. Whispers rippled through the tables. I kept my eyes locked on Alex, watching him crumble in real time. His face turned pale, then red, then pale again. He stammered, reaching for my arm, but I pulled away. Finally, the last slide appeared. Sarah, wrapped in a hotel robe, laughing into Alex's chest. The silence was deafening, and then I stood up. My voice was calm, measured, but it cut through the room like a blade. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the man I married, the man who vowed to love me, honor me, and be faithful. 12 years together, 2 children, and this is how he repays me. With my best friend. I turned to Alex, who was sweating, his lips trembling. You lied to me? You lied to them? But you don't get to lie anymore. The room erupted, some gasping, some whispering, some outright glaring at him. His boss looked disgusted. His colleagues avoided his eyes. Sarah sat frozen, humiliated, her face buried in her hands. And Alex? He tried to speak, to salvage something, but the damage was done. His reputation was ash. I left the stage, head high, ignoring the stares, ignoring his desperate pleas. I walked straight out of that ballroom and into the night air, free for the first time in months. The divorce was brutal for him. The evidence I had collected gave me everything. The house, primary custody of the kids, financial security. Alex lost half of everything, and Sarah, she didn't even stay. The scandal ruined her job, her friendships, her image. Betrayal has a funny way of eating itself alive. They didn't get their happily ever after. They got ashes. Sometimes people ask me if I regret doing it so publicly, if I regret humiliating him in front of everyone. My answer? Not for a second. Betrayal deserves exposure. Lies deserve light. He thought he was untouchable, but I proved him wrong. And Sarah? She learned the hard way what happens when you stab a sister in the back. I don't forgive them. I don't pity them. I don't miss them. I built my life back piece by piece, stronger than before. And every time I look in the mirror, I remember the woman who stopped being a victim and became the storm that destroyed her betrayers. Because sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't moving on quietly. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is making sure they never forget what they lost.